All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA props video. Going to be giving you guys the game-by-game breakdown here for these Thursday NBA games. But first, I do want to get into a quick recap from yesterday. So guys, this is just a reminder. This is going to be an NBA video, but the best bets that we have on the board are not always the NBA bets that I'm calling out. This is an NBA video, so I'm going to be breaking it down game by game, showing you guys the best bets for that NBA slate. But I do want to call this out because really the best bet that we had on the board yesterday to me was Thomas for over his fantasy score, and then we did have Phillips for over his fantasy score there in college basketball. But the best bet on the board yesterday was Charlie Hoffman over 3.5 birdies. Come on through for us, Charlie. Let's get that first 6 for 6 this season. That would continue the nice stretch that we've been on really since December. Been on a pretty good hot streak since December. Hopefully that continues here. But let's go ahead and get into the games today. And I do want to call it something as well here in regards to the NBA cheat sheet. Some people are wondering, hey, where can I find the lock bets? Well, they would be right here under the bet tag. So the bet tag is designed to show us maybe like what are the best bets. Basically, I think people are just going to sort by hammer bets or lock bets when they pop up. Lock bets are not always going to be available because, well, we don't typically get lock bets. We've had 4 since I've made this tool. Okay. And a lock bet is going to be basically a hammered bet, but the edge is also telling us to bet the over. So the edge would be at 54% likelihood or higher there. Okay. Whereas these hammer bets are going to be bets that check all the boxes, but maybe the average sportsbook data likelihood that we see here with the edge rating is not at 54% likelihood, which if you guys bet on PrizePicks and Underdog, you should know by now, those are the better bets that we have. Those are the good bets that we have. So I did want to clear that up. I got that question a decent amount of time, so want to clear that up there. And one last curtain call piece of information. There is the NBA prop sheet betting guide that I posted on the 9 to 5 website in the blog, but I'll post this in the comments of this video. You guys are interested in kind of what goes into that tool there as well. But enough of the fluff, guys. You know I hate having fluff in the videos. Let's go ahead and get into the game-by-game breakdown. So let's start. We got Golden State versus Detroit. Detroit is still going to be without Jaden Ivey. So in that time, we have seen that that's led to a little bit more minutes for Jalen Duren, a little bit more production for Tobias Harris. Malik Beasley actually was coming in off of a pretty good game last night. The issue that we have with Detroit is a little bit susceptible potentially to blowouts, but 3-point spread, 2-point spread in some cases. All right, guys. So if you guys are someone that maybe is watching this video that doesn't bet on PrizePicks or Underdog, interesting line here. Okay. So we're noticing that FanDuel has it at a 2-point spread and the over's at -108. So they actually are favoring the under there, which is crazy. Whereas we could go to Ballybet, BetParX, BetRivers. Maybe you don't have access to that, but Flip as well, where you could then bet the under there. And the payout's really not bad on any of those sites. So very interesting stuff there, guys, in terms of the point spread. Very interesting. That's why I like to do the game-by-game breakdown, just in case someone is betting on that. I actually want to take a quick look at this Malik Beasley prop bet here on the PrizePicks tab, just to see what's going on. All right, so we're only getting his fantasy score right now. So looking at the edge, again, this is percent likely for a bet to hit. I call it the edge just because of specific bets here, like fantasy score, just as an FYI, where it's not like the true 100% likelihood for a bet to hit because it is a combination stat, if you will. So I don't want to just like say likelihood to hit because it's a little bit different. I just don't want to be misleading pretty much. But looking at it, guys, last night had a good game against Brooklyn. I was able to have 37 fantasy points. We have seen his minutes have been up recently over the past 4 games, and that should continue here with Jaden Ivey out. And so I don't mind betting the over, especially in a game that is projected to be a close game, but it's not the highest scoring game as well. And we are seeing kind of different data points. But if you're looking for a bet in that Detroit versus Golden State game, that's a bet that I would encourage. Now, I'm not saying you need to go out of your way to bet that, but let's say you love some bets for Golden State and you just want to run out a game stack, then you could potentially want to toss in that bet. So looking at the Golden State Warriors, guys, really rough stuff for them. So Kuminga is out. Pods is still out. Draymond day-to-day. Curry day-to-day as well. So we don't know like really who's going to play. I'm actually kind of surprised at the amount of bets that we're getting regardless. Now, I think it's because if Curry plays, those will be his lines, right? If Draymond Green plays, like those will be his lines really regardless of what we are getting here. But Dennis Schroeder, to me, I think he would see a big bump in his production with Curry off the court. And so it's kind of strange that we are seeing his projected minutes is actually down. Now, that's a little bit due to his minutes that he was getting in Brooklyn. After the trade, obviously a little bit different now. But interestingly enough, some of the bets that we were getting here. So if we get Dennis Schroeder to see that minutes decrease, obviously, his under fantasy score could be decent. Same thing with Draymond Green for under his fantasy score as well. Let's take a peek at those two as well. So kind of interesting bets here in this game already. I'm just going to sort by Golden State. So I'm going to clear the player tab. I'm just going to go into Golden State as a team. Those will be the 2 top prop bets that are popping up then for the team. We can just click on those 2 to see a deeper dive. All right, so I wanted to look at Schroeder there. So DVP projection, maybe still slightly getting the over, which is accounting for his projected minutes, taken in his average, but still not terrible there. I mean, look at this consistency of him not getting the over since he's been with Golden State, guys. Like, we can look back at it. He's gotten it, what, twice? And in those games, 36 and 25 minutes. So he's only projected to get 27, 28 minutes in this game. So if you're betting the under here, I feel like this is a pretty solid bet. I really do. I think it's pretty solid. But we are really betting on Curry, hopefully, to play. I think that would help him out a decent amount there. And then Draymond, if you guys want to pair it up there, maybe under rebounds. We see DVP-wise, that's a pretty decent one. He's basically hit or miss. Let's see here. So thus far this season, only averaging about 6.2. Over the past 30 days, 11 games, 5.83. So basically consistently averaging the under. We could also just do his fantasy score. This is a pretty good bet here. I'm interested to see kind of what Underdog gives us here as well. I would imagine they'd be a little bit lower, closer to 29. So really, Dennis Schroeder, Draymond Green for under their fantasy scores, maybe potentially Malik Beasley for over his fantasy score. Decent little game stack. I kind of like those two. Now, if you guys are someone that like follows along with the bets, maybe write down those two. I think those are two pretty solid bets. And guys, just real quickly, I will not be able to show you guys the screenshot of my bet of the day like I typically would because PrizePicks has their, I don't even know what's going on here. This is super annoying. I don't know if you guys get this. Whenever I leave my internet up or my laptop open for an extended period of time with PrizePicks, I get this message. And so I basically, like, I always get this and it's super annoying. It's not working to confirm that I'm human and not a bot. So super annoying. I'm frustrated with that, honestly, guys. So I won't be able to show you guys the screenshot of the bet of the day. All right, so we go ahead now and jump on into the next game. We got Minnesota versus Orlando. So it is a very low scoring game, as typically all the Orlando games seem to be. Now it is a 5.5 point spread, so not really in range of a blowout. We are looking at Minnesota. Really no one injured for them. Dante DiVincenzo is projected to see a slight minutes bump of about 2, which is kind of nice. And if we wanted to, we could actually bet on his over fantasy score. It's not a bad bet. We look at, I don't think we need to do a deep dive, but if we adjust it for his projected minutes at 22.5, the average sportsbook line closer to 23, the projected line for us, 23 as well. So all those data points kind of agree with him getting the over. That's about a 53% edge. So that's a pretty good edge there. We also have Jaden Daniels as well. Basically the exact same stuff there for him as well. Now it is a more difficult matchup. We typically wouldn't want to be targeting the overs in this kind of spot here where it is a low scoring game, but that's also probably why we are getting those slight edges there. And with Orlando guys, they are still extremely banged up. Now Banchero could potentially be back in this one. He is in the projected starting lineup right now. He's questionable. If he were to be back, this bet right here, I think would actually end up being a pretty good bet. Silva to get under his fantasy score because he'd probably be closer to around 25 minutes rather than the 28 projected minutes that he's at tonight. And I could get on board with this. The Vegas day is already telling us to bet the under. This is a strange day. So yesterday I mentioned we were getting a lot of okay bets. I didn't really agree with them. So I mentioned it wouldn't be a high volume bet or betting day, which in retrospect, hindsight's 2020, probably a mistake because we had such a good day data-wise. But today is seemingly a sneaky good day. Like, we're not getting many like bets over 54%, but we're getting a lot of bets where the data correlates. Low-scoring game, tougher matchup for Silva, potential for Banchero to be back. I can get behind that. And it would be interesting to see if he would be full go in this game, guys. Like, he's projected to get 7 less minutes, Banchero. And so we see his fantasy score. Like, obviously, he averages a ton of minutes, right? Or a ton of fantasy points, especially in the short span that we're seeing him. But that's probably just a stay away. I wouldn't want to attack him in any regard there. So with that, guys, let's go ahead and jump on into the next game. We got Toronto versus Cleveland here. So Abaji is going to be out here for Toronto. And again, we are still seeing Quickly with that massive minutes bump. I'm not going to be betting on Quickly until we start to see a little bit more consistency out of him and also the team. They are 15.5 point dogs. To me, that's pretty much just a stay away through and through, really, for this whole game, because to me, that leads to less predictability here. Against Cleveland as well, I could see them maybe even just sitting someone random here, guys. They might not need to play anyone. They're coming in on a back end of back-to-back. And so I could see myself getting there. Now, we are seeing Karis LeVert. I know I just said we're probably staying away from it, but two of the better bets on the board today are in this game. So let's take a deeper dive at those two bets that we are getting. So we're getting Jakob Poeltl for under his fantasy score as the best bet on the board currently. You know, looking at all the data points, it's kind of telling us a mixed bag of kind of what to expect. But my thing is, will this game be a blowout? How much run will he get in a blowout as well? He has been consistently getting 30 minutes, but we see the last couple of games, minutes have been a little bit lower, right? 30 and 31 minutes. Those games have been projected to be blowouts as well. We see this game 34, 34, 30, 27. Was able to get the overs in those games. So kind of a little bit hit or miss in that regard. But little bit more of a difficult matchup. I can kind of get behind this where the game just is a blow up pretty fast and we're betting the under. Obviously, last game got the under against New York. It's okay. I don't feel like we need to go crazy with that, but it is the back end of a back-to-back. I don't expect him to get more minutes because of that, especially in a game that's a 15-point spread. And the same thing here for Cleveland. Now, I would say LeVert could be someone that actually is a candidate to potentially get more minutes, assuming that Cleveland might sit someone. And my only reason why I would potentially assume that is just because they are 15-point favorites and they go deep. So, like, if Mitchell were to sit, if Garland were to sit, if Mobley or Jared Allen were to randomly sit, randomly pop up on the injury report, maybe a maintenance day, I could see that end up happening. And we know that LeVert benefits a decent amount when one of those players are out. And so that could be a reason as to why he sees more minutes. And last game, guys, on the front end of back-to-back, 20 minutes in that game, which was lower than his average. And so to me, I kind of look at that as another potential maintenance thing there, where maybe he does end up getting closer to 25 minutes in this game. That could end up happening. But we can see on paper, looking at his game log, especially lately, has been around the under there, okay? Gets a decent match, but most of the data points are also telling us to bet the under here. So I don't mind this bet here. LeVert, it does have a little bit of a concern there, but I think we should be good to go. Now, if you guys are maybe worried about that, you want to bet over bet in this game, which is a good matchup for them, we are getting Donovan Mitchell for over his fantasy score here, 53.3%. This is a bet that's kind of checking all the boxes here as well. It has a 53% likelihood to hit. Now, we are seeing a trend here where he has been terrible. A lot of people naturally see that and don't want to bet the over, right? They're like, oh, that's going to continue. Let's bet the under. My thought is, one, that's a dumb thought. Two, it's that why would they be giving us that line, right? Why would they be giving us that line if that was really what happens? If anything, he's due to have a good game. This is a easy matchup there as well. You would expect him to probably get the over, which is what Vegas is expecting as well. I'm more in line with that. I think that's a good call. Okay, now do we need to go crazy with that? No, it's only a 53% likely to hit, but I don't mind that bet there as well. I do think it's worth calling out that in this game, I also don't mind the idea of getting to Jared Allen. Now, this is kind of a situation where, remember yesterday, guys, Isaiah Hartenstein under fantasy score was a bet that was popping up as a good bet. And, this is where I was looking at the data points. And I'm like, I don't really agree with that. I think I would rather bet the over. I think I would rather wait to see what the underdog line is to be able to then bet the over, which is something that I end up doing. Okay, and this kind of calls out why I like to do the game-by-game breakdown, because I don't know when we're going to get the lines from underdog. I don't know exactly when we're going to get lines for PrizePicks or certain plays, or we're going to get those lines. But at least I can make you guys educated on those spots where if we do, we're able to get this line on underdog is a little bit lower than the line on PrizePicks, we're able to bet that over. And so bringing back the point of Jared Allen, I think that would be the route I would rather go with him. Now, I typically don't like to bet on Cleveland too much, especially in a game that's projected to be a 15.5-point spread. Expect to be a blowout where he's probably max going to get 30 minutes, but we are already adjusting for that. But I'm just looking at this guy's fantastic matchup, projection-wise, average-wise, Vegas per minute line-wise even tells us to bet the over. DVP projection tells us to bet the over. Everything kind of tells us to bet the over, except for the PrizePicks line. Now we look at the average sportsbook line. It's at 33, right? We do see that the PrizePicks line probably is a little bit too high in that regard, but this is where I'm like, all right, if we can get underdog at even 33, I think I'd be wanting to bet the over more. As it sits right now, this is a bet where I would just suggest staying away from there, though, on PrizePicks. Okay, so let's go ahead now and jump on into the next game. Lots of good bets today. Lots of good, probably more game stack bets, but lots of decent bets today. All right, guys, so Houston versus Memphis. Memphis continues this thing where they've been pretty banged up. So we got Aldama expected to sit. We got Ja Morant expected to sit. Now, they are, at least Ja Morant's in the projected starting lineup, so maybe different reports there. Just as an FYI, guys, this starting lineup is a different data source than the expected status. And really why I'm doing that is if we can get a situation like this where Ja Morant is expected to sit and the starting lineup is also telling us that, that's good. We could potentially gain an edge that way. But Marcus Smart is still out here. And let's just take a peek at Memphis. Are we getting any spots here? Like Jalen Willis has been someone that's benefited a decent amount when Ja Morant and Marcus Smart have been out. We're really not getting that. Desmond Bane is an okay bet here on like these like for Sleeper or Flip, more of those other sites rather than on PrizePicks here, where we could see betting the under 4.5 rebounds, where again, given the risk that's associated with it on PrizePicks or Underdog, where it's only 51.6% likely to not really worth it there on PrizePicks, but on a traditional sportsbook, I think we can end up betting the under there. But let's go ahead now and jump on into Houston. Need to click off. Here we go. Amen Thompson. 8 more minutes. Crazy there. Jalen, all right, no, really nothing here, guys. Dylan Brooks for under his fantasy score. We are seeing that one's kind of popping up. Gets a very good matchup. That's the only concern there. But is he projected to get a minutes bump? No, not really. Maybe 1 minute. Interesting there for him. Sangoon, just be on the lookout for his underdog fantasy score. I've noticed that he's been a player that they've been really different on this whole year. And same thing with Jaren Jackson Jr., actually, where both sides have kind of been valuing them differently. But really nothing. I mean, Dylan Brooks under his fantasy score is a pretty decent one there. I don't hate that, but don't love the matchup against Memphis. You know, it's a matchup that he should be able to do well in. Let's go ahead and jump on into this next game. All right, so looking at it, guys, we got Dallas versus Memphis here. So Dallas obviously still without Luka Doncic, still without Kyrie Irving, but the big piece of news that we could get here is Daniel Gafford sitting. So he's questionable to play in Thursday night's contest against Portland. So really no update there. Okay, why is that important? Well, someone like Derek Lively could get a little bit of a minutes bump. PJ Washington's actually someone that would probably benefit a little bit there as well, usage-wise. So just interesting stuff there. Spencer Dinwiddie is continuing to see the minutes bump. Quentin Grimes continuing to see the minutes bump. And so for Dinwiddie, this game is a game that could potentially be a blowout. If it's not, he's going to be the reason why. He gets a good matchup here as well. So I'm more in line with probably wanting to bet the over here with them. I think I'd be okay with that. We are getting PJ Washington under rebounds and assists. That's a good bet. Let's just pull this up. Let's pull up this team. It's worth a deeper dive. All right, so again, just sorting by team here. Going to go into Dallas. All right, so this is another spot. So when we adjust for Kyrie and Luke off the court, PJ Washington is actually a player that averages the over here. So I find it interesting that, one, the projection data is telling us about the under, but the average sportsbook line is so heavy on the under here. Let's take a peek at maybe the reason as to why. Here we go. This is why. Because lately he has not been getting the over. Interesting there. Very interesting there. And does get a more difficult matchup. So honestly, like, yeah, I'm probably okay betting that. Again, guys, my kind of golden rule is we don't want to go against Vegas. Okay. So I'm still going to have exposure to this bet. It might not be a bet that I get high volume to. And if that's confusing to you guys, I get why. But basically, I don't want to go heavy on a bet like this where, you know, some of the other data points are telling us to do maybe the opposite. Whereas let's just say these were all red and not green, I'd probably gain higher volume on just a little bit more confidence in that bet. Now, let's look at Spencer Dinwiddie here. Definitely an interesting one there with him. And we see he's been very hit or miss. You would expect him to be able to play well in this matchup already against Portland. Has he had a matchup against Portland? He has. Okay. 19 minutes, 14 minutes, and kind of a point per minute producer in that game. Not exactly a point per minute producer in that game. And then against against Portland in this game, 32. So we have seen him be pretty consistent. I would say point per minute wise, at least. And why is that important? Because, well, if he gets 30 minutes, then the PrizePicks line here of 30, he should be right around there. And if you adjust it maybe for the matchup, should be right around there, but not exactly a lock and load bet there as well. And then from there, not too many crazy good bets, but seemingly pretty good matchups for them. All right, so let's jump into the other side of this game. We got Portland here, guys. Portland, Jeremy Grant still out, Kling Yang out, and then you also have Matthias Thybulle still out as well. So Simons gets a little bit of bump of usage with Grant off the court. We're seeing a minutes bump there for him. Sharp as well. Those two can have a good game together, but I typically have noticed that their lines are really not the best, and that's kind of the case again today, where we're really not getting massive edges there for Portland right now. All right, so getting into the next game, we got Phoenix versus Atlanta. So Phoenix has some interesting things going on. Bradley Beal's coming in off the court. We are seeing Ryan Dunn's projected to get 7 more minutes here. Let's see him. Are we getting bets for him? Gets a good matchup. Wow. Okay, so points and assists, guys, 10.5. Gets a good matchup. All the lines are basically the same. Not a big edge there. Fantasy score, it seems like the lines are already adjusted for that, so nothing too crazy there. I was thinking we might get an edge there. Bradley Beal, though, for under his fantasy score is a bet that we are getting. Now, this is basically rooted in him not getting those minutes, guys. So we see projected minutes is down by 2.5. Okay. Should mention, pretty high scoring game, 238.5. So I don't exactly love the idea of attacking an under bet here, just in general. But this is kind of a bet where the data is somewhat checking most of the boxes there, except for the matchup. That's the one concern. Other than that, though, we'd be on par with him getting the under. Actually, let's take another look at this one as well. And this is actually the best bet right now per Vegas odds. So interesting there. Most of them there are telling us to bet the under. So the projection data, which again, guys, that's more of the traditional DFS kind of projections, if you will, which tend to be a little bit higher. That's kind of the purpose of DFS projections versus other data points, is you're trying to chase more upside. That's why I have that included. Sometimes that confuses people. That's what it is. But it's really the DVP, guys. That's the biggest difference there. But let's see. Lately, we see very much hit or miss, even when the minutes have been there. So I would be more inclined to bet the under here. But again, not a bet that we need to go crazy with. Plenty of solid bets. So we got 4 really good NBA bets as it sits right now. I might not get a lot of volume to them, except for Karis LeVert there, but all pretty decent bets. All right, so we got Miami versus Utah here as well. We'll jump to that game breakdown. Looking at this game, we know Butler not active for the Heat. Drew Smith still out. Josh Richardson still out. But really, it's Utah where we're getting the biggest edges here, guys. So Jordan Clarkson's out. Hendricks out. John Collins expected to sit. Keontae George out as well. So that is creating a bunch of projected edges. The issue that we have with Utah as a whole, they have been a team that has kind of spread out their minutes. And so it's tough for us to really gain a big edge there. Now, Isaiah Collier is someone, if you look at like his per 36 production, really should be able to crush all of his lines on a per 36 average, but we only have him projected to get 23 minutes, which is annoying. Like, I want to be able to bet on him. We're just not getting those spots. And it is a more difficult matchup against Miami, so maybe they're helping us out there. Maybe that's the case. Honestly, if you guys are someone that plays DFS, like probably a better player to get exposure to there. Now, with Clarkson out, with Keontae George out, Colin Sexton is also a player that really does benefit a decent amount. Again, I really wish the minutes were there for him, but they're not. And so that's kind of the concern. Again, he is someone that does get a difficult matchup here as well. And so all the bets that we're getting for him are already adjusted for that matchup. Even though he gets a bump in like the production per 36 wise, like he should be able to crush this per 36 wise. I could see kind of why the data is also telling us to maybe stay away. All right, so jumping on into the last game tonight, we got the Lakers versus the Hornets. So looking at the Lakers, guys, AD probable, Max Christie still seeing that minutes bump. Nothing too much here for the Lakers as well. Hachimura potentially for over his points, rebounds, and assists is okay. He's not really, nothing really there. And then Charlotte, we'll see. Mark Williams still getting that big minutes bump. Don't hate Mark Williams. Mark Williams for over his points, rebounds, and assists is a good bet. Maybe more of a traditional sportsbook bet, a sleeper bet, flip bet. I don't mind. I think that's a good route to go there actually with Mark Williams. It'll be interesting to see what his fantasy score line comes out to be as well. Then again, guys, I won't be able to show you guys the screenshot of the bet of the day because PrizePicks is being dumb with whatever. I don't know. It's just super annoying with whatever they have going on in their algorithm there that doesn't let people hold their browser source open for extended period of time. Now, to be fair, I leave it open too much, but we are getting some decent bets for college basketball. Not exactly ones that we need to go crazy with, but Malik Thomas here, guys, for over his fantasy score, seemingly a good bet compared to the average sportsbook client. We are seeing Brendan Smith as well, potentially for under his points and assists. Decent bet there. We see the average sportsbook line really likes that bet there as well. Dylan Harper for over his fantasy score, another decent bet, especially compared to the sportsbook line. Again, I do want to see what the underdog's lines are here, what they come out to be, but decent edges there. And we'll just show you guys kind of what the best 6-slip bet is right now. And this will be, I guess, the bet of the day. So Charlie Hoffman for over birdies or better. We already got exposure to that. If you guys don't want to double dip there, you don't have to. Same thing with Zach Johnson. Like that was a bet that was popping up yesterday. But then we got Joachim Poeltl for under his fantasy score. Karis LeVert, which was the bet that I really decently liked. Drew Alar for under his rush attempts of 7. Good chance for that one to be a push. And then PJ Washington for under his rebounds and assists. Another decent bet there as well. So guys, that'll do it. Again, if you guys want access to any of the tools, make sure to head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access to the PrizePicks and Underdog tools, the cheat sheets there for $10 a month. Including that is going to be the NBA cheat sheet that you guys saw during this video, as well as all the fantasy golf tools, guys. We are locked and loaded for the fantasy golf season. Make sure to check those out there as well. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Good luck with all your bets, and as always, let's keep cashing.